Hello, everyone, and welcome back to True Words Aren't Beautiful. We are now going to discuss some traveler's tales and thoughts on travel for the just do shit philosophy. So, if you're wondering why I look a little bit rugged, it's because I literally just got back about a half hour ago from La Union, Philippines, a well known location for surfing, although I didn't go surfing. I went there on a whim to celebrate my 40th birthday weekend because I needed some space and some time to explore the world outside of Manila, take a breather, and reconnect with nature. And I had a really good time, though it was a bit short, and there are plenty of things I could have done and should have done, but I will definitely return in the future, hopefully with company, or I will do it myself and figure things out. So while I was there, I had some thoughts when I went to Tongadon Falls on our first day there. So it's a pretty steep climb, about 354 steps down, and the same back up. And what I was thinking when I got there to enjoy the sunrise and the water, even though I didn't get a chance to dip inside, was how great it was to be outdoors, how I love fitness and nature, and it reminded me of all those times that I would go out and explore the unseen world off the beaten track where not a lot of tourists go, even though this is a package tour I joined. When I was in the Peace Corps in Tanzania or Sri Lanka for NGOs or Cambodia, all sorts of places, I loved saying to myself that I'm going places where people haven't gone before. I'm exploring the unseen. I am adventurous. Basically, Indiana Jones, Lara Croft, whoever you want to imagine. And I was also making a difference in the world because I was doing nonprofit and development service work. In fact, one of the more exciting things I did, which was not for nonprofit but for me, was climbing Mount Elbrus in Russia. I almost made it to the summit, but in the last 50 or so meters, I couldn't make it because I didn't have the right gear, and I kept stumbling and falling. And instead of renting goggles, I stupidly wore sunglasses, so my eyeballs were freezing the entire time. So, in spite of all these experiences, in spite of all this resilience, in nature, in poverty, and conflict, I now specifically think, as I was climbing up the stairs, getting winded but loving it because of the cardio work I already do every day for my daily training, and the strength training, while I was proud of how I could do it while everyone was complaining and carrying a heavy load as well, I think back to my time during the pandemic when my ex-girlfriend Dana and I moved to an area called Mandaluyong in Manila, and I often complained how there were 4 flights of stairs instead of an elevator we would take in our old condo. I kept complaining about how I had to bring up the kitty litter, the dog food, and the groceries, and she would get the laundry at times, or I'd go pick up packages or take out garbage. I'd complain, "So many stairs!" just like the Hulk from the Avengers film from 2012. I really hated it, and I don't understand now when I look back how I could have all those experiences I mentioned, from Russian Mount Elbrus to Sri Lankan minefields. How I could bitch and whine about climbing up 4 flights of stairs to do daily chores, from throwing out garbage or to bringing groceries up and down. Those skills should have translated to my civilian life. Those skills should have made me less of a whiner and more appreciative of things. But this is what comes down to having the right mindset and the right influences, and recognizing where you have the wrong influences of impacting your quality of life, which is part of the just do shit philosophy, because you need to have the right mind and an empty mind in order to really just do shit. Let's get down to business. Most of those thoughts came from having narcissistic parents and cheap, very cheap, old money parents. These are the kind of people who will take a taxi not even 200 meters away from a mall because they don't want to walk in the heat. They are close enough to walk down the block over to the mall. 200 meters, 500 meters, too far for them, too hot, too muggy. They'll take a taxi from the lobby to travel that far. If you don't believe me, you can ask people who I have met if you ever are in my area. I can tell you how they called a driver to drive them 1 block away across the street because the streets are too crowded, dirty, and everything is dusty and hot and muggy. This creates a kind of entitlement because what they model versus what I have. I felt horrible and entitled that I felt like I was living in poverty. I felt that why is it they can have drivers? Why is it that they can have fancy meals and dress well? And then they look at me and say, oh, you need to earn your own money. And yet they would shower all the finances and gifts on my younger sister whom they liked. But for me, they expected me to do things on my own. My mindset there was, why are you playing favorites? Why are you saying that I should work hard and that everything is my responsibility, whereas my younger sister, you don't expect her to work hard because she knows how to kiss your feet. This led to the victim mindset that I had. This led to the entitlement that I had. And this led to the shitty attitude that I had towards 4 flights of stairs and eating on a budget. And was what led to plenty of conflicts with my ex-girlfriend Dana and other people here. I had the expectations that I deserved a good life because of the family I came from and the environment I was around when I went to an international school full of rich brats. I felt the contrast when I lived with my dad and we ate well and we went on luxury excursions. He had his driver, he had his maids. And so I felt once my dad was gone and I suddenly was having to live like everyone else, realizing I was just another mere mortal, just my wealthy father's son. I felt horrible, and I thought that I didn't have to live this life that I had suffered during the brief period that I was living in poverty during the time that my father lost his finances when I was a 10-year-old. We were homeless, we were going from foster home to foster home or motel to motel, different schools in different countries and different states. I thought those days of poverty would be behind me once my father recovered, but once he died, it was right back to that for me for a while. And when I got with my ex-girlfriend Dana, I felt like I was falling to poverty because of our struggles, and I felt that I deserved better. I was entitled to better. It doesn't work like that. When you have someone like Dana, or you have someone like my best friend in Korea, these are people who were not born lucky. These are people who were born with humility and modesty. If they wanted to live well, they had to work their way up. So, if Dana goes to a Carinderia, which is a basically street food here, a street cafeteria, paying a couple of dollars for a full meal with a bowl of rice. That's normal for her, and she's okay with that because she had that when she had less income, and she ate like that anyway, even when she increased her income, because it was just fine to her. She had no problems with that. Then you have me, who, when I was visiting my parents on holidays, my mom and my stepdad, we'd be eating at $100 plus meals in fancy places around San Francisco. And then when I'd come back to what I felt was as what was beneath me, I felt humiliated, I felt ashamed, and I felt that I deserved better. Yes, I was a whiner and a victim. And yet, all that time in service in the Peace Corps, all that time in nonprofit development, this is where I realized, while I enjoyed serving and helping people, I did not have the most sincere mind, because I was overcompensating. The same way a guy with a small dick buys a nice car, the same way that you want to have the entire IKEA catalog in your home, the same way that people hoard material possessions, the same way people have bucket lists, which they check off and flaunt to everyone saying, "Look what I did on vacation." This is not just doing shit. This is trying to show that you are the shit when you're probably just on some shit. Without that spirit of sincerity, there is no joy in service. There is no higher calling in service. Just because you took a trip to Argentina on a whim for 2 weeks, because you read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, this does not make you special. You did something impulsively. You didn't do something that is necessarily long-lasting. Just doing shit means there is no agenda. You're not out to impress. You're out to express. You're not out to compensate or overcompensate. You're not out to fill a void. Just doing shit means you have the spirit of wonder in all things, mundane and fantastic, because it calls to you. You're not out to prove something to others, and you're not out to escape or hide from yourself or your thoughts and your life. Everything you do must translate to the personal qualities in your life. So, even if I'm helping out war widows or shrapnel victims in Sri Lanka, even though I'm documenting people such as young social entrepreneurs who dropped out of school in the southern Philippines, or helping with water and sanitation in East Timor, or food and agriculture and healthcare in Tanzania, if this doesn't translate to my daily life, it's just something I say, oh, I do this. Nothing was done in sincerity there. It's no different from a day job where you sell women's shoes. It's not part of my core being. It's a means of saying, look who I am, look what I do. I'm so much better than you. I was not following the just do shit philosophy. I was following the overcompensating for shit philosophy. I was filling in the void that I felt if I serve and I do good deeds, I will feel good about myself. Instead, I feel worse about myself because I don't get validated or recognized, or what I really want, which is to feel loved and validated, without needing to do anything, without needing to have material possessions, or show off, or buy your friends, without needing to compare penises to people by seeing how much of my bucket list I have checked off, or how many cool things I've done and posted on Instagram about. To just do shit doesn't require you to show off. To just do shit doesn't require you to fill in a void. To just do shit is exactly that. You do it for the sake of doing it. When you embrace hardship without having the entire IKEA catalog, or all of your bucket list items checked off, or service work flaunted, it means that you take everything from the hardest and most difficult or boring times of your life, all those moments where you wish you could just order a burger or a pizza, all those times you wish you could go to this concert but you can't afford the tickets, just like I wished I could go to RuPaul's Drag Race back in September here, when he came to the Philippines. I enjoy what I have by making do with what I have, and I love what I do. Whether it's drawing, writing, music, and now vlogging, or caring for my dogs. Just do shit means you enjoy what you have, no matter what you have. Whether it's big, small, or next to nothing. You make the most of what you have, and you enjoy it. So when you have everything, the only problem you have is the good problem of not having enough time to enjoy everything, and not knowing how to choose and prioritize what to do. So, just do shit means there's substance in everything you think, say, or do, and possess, because it's all connected. You're not a happy traveler with a hashtag blessed on social media who's actually miserable during the work week and frankly quite misanthropic. You're not the boomer travelers who complain about every little thing, or a millennial wannabe influencer, or a voluntourist whose profile pics are changed for life, with them having black and brown children living in poverty that they pretend to be helping and pretend to care about. And in spite of either appearing happy in photos or bragging about where they've gone and what they did and ate, all of the above examples seem to be somewhat hollow or miserable because they constantly need to flaunt and show off. Just like I did. Travel should be something that's good to offer you a chance to breathe and get perspective. It's not an escape. The perspective it provides in your daily life is when you get too absorbed and develop tunnel vision and you need a breather. And it provides perspective in life when you see that the world is more than just your home, your office, your neighborhood, or your social circle. And you recognize that you just do shit because that's your role in the cosmos and what you were made to do. So, having said all of that, this is why I'm exploring right now. I'm exploring myself, whether it's travel. Like next week, I'll be going to Buscalan and Banaue, another part of the Philippines up north. This is why I'm vlogging, something I've never done before. This is why I'm exploring more radical honesty and being both self-effacing and self-incriminating as I talk frankly about my imperfections and my screw-ups. And how I seriously did not appreciate how much of an amazing woman my ex Dana was. Or how I ignored the life lessons of my best friend in Korea. The people who were on my team I ignored because, to me, validation was sought from people who would never validate me no matter what I did. There is nothing I can get from being validated by a rich kid who went to an international school or belongs to a rich local family. They aren't just doing shit because they pay everyone to do shit for them and they get bored. I do not have the interest in calling those people my people. At different times in my life, both my best friend in Korea and my therapist and other people have told me, why? Why do I hold those values? Why do I look down on people like my ex-girlfriend like I did because she wasn't the same social class as my international school friends or rich kid friends? These people are not interested in what I do or who I am. I could have as much as they do, as many material possessions, as many zeros in their bank account, but they are all just rich kids, and for their parents, they're rich people who have nothing better to do in their lives than to complain or oppress. Whereas my best friend and my ex are both people who fought for every inch in their life, and they just did shit. These are the people who I should have been listening to. These are the people who cared and shared. They know the value of sharing. They know what it means to have very little and create sugar out of shit. Whatever good they have in their life, they fought for and they deserve. They never felt entitled to it. So, those are my thoughts, having come back from my trip to La Union. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.